Seriously, it's 2025. Why the hell do hard drives still exist? Welcome to the Raid Room, another video where we just bang on for about 10 to 20 minutes, no overlay, no B-roll, we're just rabbiting you and I. So let's crack on. A lot of users, when I did my video on the 30 TB drives, I did a few series, I think it's a 3-part series, it might be live by now. A lot of users reached out to say, why on earth are hard drives still a thing? Why are they still so slow? And with the hard drives reaching higher and higher capacities, why is the price point per terabyte not getting any better? So let's go through those points. Number one, why the hell do hard drives still exist? Nice and simple, because as appealing as SSDs might be right now, they are never going to be able to comfortably and affordably reach the price for that kind of capacity that a hard drive can. And the problem is, although people's demands, and we'll get on to speed later on, have grown, so has everyone's amount of data. Look at your bloody iPhone and just how big in terms of megabyte those photos are. Look how big your camera recordings are from that gig that you went to. Oasis was great, wasn't it? You went to a gig, you did a 2-3 minute recording, and then you looked at it and it was 700 megs to a gigabyte in size. The data we create by our very existence every day and everything that we do gets bigger. And therefore, capacity, although speed and delivery of data is important, capacity has still, decades on, become the priority. And as long as SSDs can't nail down the price in terms of their capacity, hard drives are always going to exist. This 30 TB, this is just the beginning. Seagate say by the end of this decade, they're going to be rocking out 100 TB drives there. That's their aim, that's their roadmap. They wouldn't be doing that if there wasn't a future in hard drives. And as the amount of data we create gets bigger, the amount of storage requirements gets bigger. But what about that performance? A lot of users were asking, why on earth is brands like Seagate spending all of this time and energy getting bigger capacity and not working towards improving the performance? Well, they are, but not the way you think. You may already be aware of this, but it's twofold. Number one, it's about sustained performance. Modern hard drives actually maintain the write performance and the read performance, of course, much longer than older class drives. When you look at a 3 TB drive and a 12 TB drive there, yes, there's going to be differences in the RPM. And again, we could compare perhaps a 12 TB and a 20 TB drive that was released at launch for both respective capacities. You find that the sustained transfer rates are actually better on the newer drives. So they are looking at performance, just not peak performance, but sustained performance. But the other one is they do look at improving the performance by changing the architecture of hard drives. Sorry for the break in recording now. I used to have a hard drive that showed the insides and the mechanics of the drive, and I can't seem to find it, which is super annoying. Hard drives themselves, when they have those disks spinning inside, you have the actuator, the little arm that's reading it. As you may or may not be aware, hard drives have started arriving at the enterprise level that have got multiple arms inside. They're even going up to 3 actuators as well, and each one of those effectively doubles the performance each time you add an actuator. The problem is the architecture of the drive has to change. When we did our Mac 2 video drives, where they were showing the drives with 2 actuators, it's actually 2 hard drives slapped together inside one case. It's created 2 logical units, 2 LUNs that are based inside, and it's heavily reliant, those drives at least, on the architecture of the server understanding that the one drive is actually 2 drives being read and written to inside there. Seagate, and again with other drives as well, WD as well, are always exploring ways to improve the performance. But the reason simple performance hasn't changed goes right the way back to what we said before about capacity. Ultimately, the research and development, the lion's share of it is being spent on stability of the data. So for example, this 30 TB has got 10 platters, 10 little circular disks inside, and they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner, but the capacity is getting higher and higher and higher. This has got those 10 platters inside at 3 terabytes each. Each disk has got 3 terabytes of data that the one arm has to flitter between. Alongside that, the platters are getting thinner. So in order to maintain the rotation to be stable, so not wobble out with vibration sensors and more, that's when that helium has come in to ensure frictionless rotation inside and to maintain that stability. And that takes a lot of time. And we've not even got into exactly how they've started to get more and more capacity onto smaller and smaller, thinner disks. And a lot of that has to do with things like heat-assisted magnetic recording and energy-assisted magnetic recording and microwave energy-assisted magnetic recording, which ultimately, during the right operation, using thermodynamics, expand the space and then retract the space exceedingly rapidly there. The brands aren't putting their feet up. There's no question of a brand going, oh, no, we don't have to make them faster. Let's have Friday afternoon off and go to the pub. They're not. They've just redirected a lot of that development there towards stability and capacity over performance. Another break in recording there. I thought someone was at the door. Nice and simple. Last point, what about that price per terabyte? Because you would think, given that 1 TB drives, I believe, arrived around 2006, 7, 8, and 4 TB drives started arriving around 2010 to 2012. You would think that 30 TB drives would just be way more affordable, and therefore it should be a lower price per terabyte. And technically it is lower. When you look, for example, at a 4 TB drive, a 4 TB drive generally knocks around for about $99, at least in terms of a NAS drive, if you want to be specific. That 4 TB hard drive means you've got a price per terabyte there of about $25. Now, this drive here is rocking around for about $600 to $700. And when you really break it down, the price per terabyte ends up being about $23 to about $27 per terabyte, depending on which drive you go for, whether you go for like an Exos drive or you're going for maybe an Iron Wolf drive. The prices do differ depending on their class. But that price per terabyte has largely remained the same. Now, why is that? Well, unfortunately, I've just got to point back to my other 2 points I mentioned earlier on, that the research and development that's gone into these has not changed. If anything, it's got even bigger as they've had to try to cram more and more in because they can't change the rules. They have to be SATA, they have to be 3.5 inch, and they can't exceed this scale. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to put these inside servers that are coming out now. You'd have to change all the servers for bigger drives. If they could increase the capacity and the height, you could stick a few more actuators in there, add more platters, you'd hit 100 TB like that. They've got no limits really in that regard. The limits come down to having to work within these rules. Now, unfortunately, that's not the only reason. The other reason that price per terabyte has largely remained stagnant over the years is because it just can. The standard has been set. WD, Seagate, Toshiba, you name it. All of them have, probably not verbally and out loud, but they've all kind of agreed that that's what people are prepared to pay. And they know that their large capacity hard drives are the only gig in town. SSDs, be they SSDs of M.2 NVMe with phenomenal performance, which by the way get oversaturated quickly and then you lose that performance, or SATA SSDs that nonetheless can still only hit a certain capacity limit due to the controllers and once again the scale and size, they know that there isn't a lot of options in terms of finding the balance for the price per terabyte. It is not in their interest, as far as they're concerned I should say, not mine, to lower that price per terabyte. They will look at each capacity, and when a 40 TB drive arrives, trust me, that price per terabyte isn't going to change. It just isn't, because they don't feel it needs to. It's not a great answer, but unfortunately I think it's closer to the truth than anything. When I did my WD Red 10-year anniversary video and article, something we talked about before for good and bad reasons, I will say that when I was doing all my research into the history of those drives at different websites and more, it became time and time again apparent to me that the price per terabyte has always been between $20 and $30 per terabyte. It just always has been. It's bad, but that is the case. But I'm going to wrap things up there because I think right now I've already oversaturated you with this. But maybe there's a point that I've missed that you'd like covered, let me know below. But apart from that, that has been why the hell hard drives still exist the way they do right now in 2025 after all these years. Apart from that, thank you so much for joining me in the Raid Room today, and I'll see you next time.